Councilmember, can you just confirm you can hear us? Right here, you can begin whenever you wish.
Okay, you should be able to hear me as well.
We can hear you. Here we go. Thanks, Councilmember. Welcome, everybody. Before we begin, of course, this is our regular council meeting for January 21st. Remind everybody that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded to the Township's YouTube channel. Also, we do have members who are joining us from Zoom as well as from the chambers. Council, if you'd like to speak on the matter, as always, please raise your hand and I'll call on you at the appropriate time to speak. Also remind you all to please use your microphone. We do have a number of people in the gallery ought to be able to hear us. Moving down the list on housekeeping, we'll just call the roll, starting with Mayor Nelson.
Present.
We have Councillor Watt, Councillor Johnston,
Present.
Councillor Vervoort.
Present.
Hello, of course, myself, Mayor Heather Watson, and then on the staff side, we have, I don't know which we're going, left to right. I'm gonna start with our treasurer, Mr. Kramer. Hello, we have our clerk and deputy CAO, Martina Hartwig. Good afternoon. Our CAO, Todd Davis.
Good afternoon.
And our planner, Christina Coulter. Hello. Hello. I don't think we have any other staff joining us online. No. Great. So with Toronto Council in attendance, I will call the meeting to order, starting with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands on which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. And we'll just pause for a moment of silence, please. Okay, moving along to the disclosure of pecuniary interest. I believe that we do have a disclosure that's being made. Councillor Report, you submitted paperwork on that, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Watson. Through you, yes, I did submit. I did submit something on that. I'm the owner of the property that's being discussed in the public meeting.
So that's item 8.1 then.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you'll recuse yourself during those discussions?
I shall recuse myself and sign offline, and I'll ask that perhaps Martina could send me a message once that segment of the meeting is finished up, and I'll rejoin.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. Is there any other disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing nothing then, just looking for an adoption of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councillor Johnston, all in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6, we have the adoption of business or adoption of minutes of business arising from the minutes. We have two meetings, the regular council meeting December 17th and our special council meeting minutes of January 7th and 9th. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor, and that motion carries. We have a number of items on consent. Is there anything that a member of the council would like to hold for discussion later in the agenda? Seeing nothing, then just looking for a motion to receive those. Councillor Johnston, thank you, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor, and that carries. On to delegations, petitions, presentations, and public meetings, and of course, this is item 8.1 for where Councillor Report has declared. So if you want to excuse yourself at this point in time, Councillor. Councillor Report, are you hearing us okay? Is he frozen at the moment? So we don't know if he's here or not, typically. That's right. Can we just give him the hook? There we go. Awesome. Thank you very much. So looking for a motion, please, to open the public meeting. Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston, all in favor. And that carries. And over to you, Ms. Coulter.
Thank you, Mayor Watson, members of council, staff, and the public. This is the public meeting for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, file R-15-24. Council has before them report planning 2025-32 with the recommendation that report planning 2025-32 dated January 21st, 2025 regarding file R-15-24 be received, and that council receive all comments related to file R-15-24, and that the bylaw to enact the amendment be passed at the appropriate time in the meeting. As background for this application, the owner Adam Verwoerd and 2405582 Ontario Inc. have applied to amend a portion of the existing zoning on their property, known municipally as 277 6 Line Road, Douro-Dummer. This rezoning is required as a condition of consent for severance application B53-24 that was conditionally approved by Peterborough County on October 28, 2024. Notice of the public meeting and complete application was given on December 17th by ordinary mail and email as prescribed under the regulations of the Planning Act. A notice was also posted on the subject property and on the township website. The subject property is currently zoned rural and environmental conservation in the township zoning bylaw. The subject property, the consent application is severing the existing house, barn, and 2 sheds from the subject lands. The severed parcel is located within the rural zone and is proposed to be used for hobby farm purposes. A hobby farm is a permitted use in the rural zone. Minimum lot area of 10 hectares and a minimum lot frontage of 135 meters. The severed parcel has a lot area of only 2.6 hectares and a lot frontage of 44 meters, and therefore a rezoning is required to recognize the deficient lot area and frontage for the proposed use. So the zoning bylaw proposes to rezone the severed parcel from the rural zone to the special district 261 zone, and to permit the use of the land for a hobby farm with a minimum lot area of 2.6 hectares and a minimum lot frontage of 44 meters. The existing buildings on the severed parcel comply with all other regulations, including section 9.2.6.4 of the bylaw, which stipulate the minimum yard requirements and the maximum building height and lot coverage requirements. As of the writing of the report, no comments have been received from members of the public. Comments were received from the following agencies. Enbridge Gas had no objections to the application. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board had no concerns or issues related to their mandate. The Township Region Conservation Authority, their mapping indicates that the portions of the proposed retained lot fall within mapped unevaluated wetlands and watercourses. Orca staff noted that the proposed severed lot is located outside of these features. Therefore, it is the opinion of Orca that the application is consistent with Chapter 5 of the Provincial Planning Statement, which references natural hazards. Orca mapping indicates that the lands are partially subject to Ontario Regulation 4124, which is their prohibited activities, exemptions, and permits regulation. And they did note that permits from their agency may be required prior to any site alteration or construction in those areas regulated. It was determined that the subject property is not located within a vulnerable area that is subject to the Trent Source Drinking or Trent Source Protection Plan policies, and significant drinking water threats are not possible, and a restricted land use notice is not required. Orca also reviewed the application through their mandated responsibility under Ontario Regulation 686/21. And they did recommend that the mapped unevaluated wetland and water courses and their associated area of influence be rezoned to environmental conservation zone or equivalent. While Orca did recommend that those features and their buffers be rezoned, they are located on the retained lands, and rezoning of the retained lands was not required as a condition of the decision of the severance application. So Orca does note that the rezoning of the lands as a condition of the severance of the existing dwelling and for use as a hobby farm should not create any new or aggravate any existing hazards. But based on the comments that Orca did provide regarding the retained parcel, we did reach out to them just to clarify that they would have no concerns with that we weren't rezoning the retained parcel. And they did confirm in email correspondence on January 14th that since this wasn't required as a condition of severance, they would have no objections to rezoning the severed parcel only. They did indicate that should any planning applications be required for the retained parcel, they would recommend a technical study to determine the exact boundaries of the hazardous features, and a rezoning would be required. The application was circulated to senior staff on December 17th, and there were no concerns identified. And so as proposed, the draft bylaw is consistent with the 2024 provincial planning statement and conforms to the official plan. With that, I will turn it back to Mayor Watson for any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Coulter. So we will look for comments. If there's anybody present, either in person or online, who would like to comment or ask a question on the application. I see we have somebody coming in online, Madam Clerk. Mr. Rob, are you looking to comment on the application?
Yes, if that's possible, please.
Certainly, the floor is yours.
Okay. So I'm Murray Lobb. For over 60 years, I look out my kitchen window, I see the property that we're talking about for the potential rezoning. A few comments. Number one, I think it's fantastic that somebody has refurbished, rebuilt, reestablished this property to make it a viable entity. The house sat empty for approximately 15 to 16 years. When Adam moved in and rebuilt the house and upgraded the barn and brought the farm back to life, that's a good thing for everybody in the area. A little bit of a background on my family is my grandfather lives across the road. Sorry, my grandfather's farm is across the road where my brother is. My son is behind Adam's property. So we're on three sides of this property. And I think it's, I would speak very much in favor of this proposal. It maintains the integrity of the renovations to the house and the barn. It maintains the integrity of the farmland. And I think it's good for everybody in the world of Dummer Township to go ahead with this process.
Thank you very much. In the world of Douro Township. Love that. We've got another comment from the floor.
With the severance, are you not concerned with urban sprawl? In the beginning of urban sprawl?
So just for a housekeeping purpose, if you could just state your name for the record.
Cindy Matthews.
Thank you very much, Ms. Matthews. And then the question about concern with urban sprawl. Yeah. Is Ms. Coulter?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Watson. So the application before council today is for a rezoning, if that is in support of the severance application. The decision has already been made on the severance application through the County of Peterborough.
Okay, so the severance has already been made and approved. Correct. And this is just rezoning that existing severance.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments on the application from any members of the gallery? Madam Clerk, is there anybody else on? Oh, sorry.
My name is Carrie O'Mara. It seems to me that you didn't actually answer her question. It didn't really answer the question.
Okay, Ms. Coulter.
Through you, Mayor Watson. The severance application was evaluated in light of the official plan and the provincial legislation, and it was deemed to conform. So residential severances and hobby farms are permitted use in the rural area. The tests for the creation of the law were met, and the application was deemed to conform to the applicable policy.
Better. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the gallery? And Madam Clerk, sorry, was there anybody online?
There is another person, but we have no raised questions.
Okay. All right, so with that, over to council for any questions or comments of staff. Seeing nothing, then we'll just be looking for a motion to close the public meeting. Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Deputy Mayor Nelson will second that. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And we'll just need a motion to receive the report and all the comments as well. Councilor Watt, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? That motion carries. And just for ease of housekeeping, it probably makes sense just to move that bylaw up at this point as well. Madam Clerk, if council's okay with that. So the bylaw is item 13.4. There we go. Thank you very much. So we'll just be looking for approval on that bylaw.
Also move.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'll second.
Councilor Johnson, all in favor? And that motion carries. Wonderful. Thank you very much. I believe, Madam Clerk, we're going to be getting a message over to Councilor Verhort to invite him back into the meeting, but while we do that, we're going to move on the agenda. We have a delegation from Elaine Hilfer with the Friends of the Douro-Dummer Incorporated with some concerns regarding the proposed subdivision on County Road 6. Ms. Hilfer, if you want to make your way up to the lectern. Yeah, you see it there. Here. Everybody's got one? I think we're good to go, and Councilor Verboord is rejoined, so the floor is yours. And just as a reminder, all delegations per our procedural bylaws 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So we will.
I have a timer.
Okay, great. The floor is yours.
Madam Mayor, fellow councilors, 10 minutes is definitely not enough time to talk about 30-plus-year-old proposed plan of subdivision located on County Road 6, Douro-Dummer. That's the former Hall's Glen, and how it will negatively impact our township, or how it continues to pose weighted concerns and remains traumatizing for the existing property owners. We continue to live in fear of how such a large proposed build will impact our availability of water for general use, potable cooking and drinking water, overwhelm our rural lifestyles, and affect the value of our property. As well, we all rely on private water, overwhelm our rural lifestyles, and as I said, affect the value of our property. So it is well noted that we're located on a unique ecotone, and we cannot ignore the negative impact to our natural resources, the availability of water, the riparian water rights as it affects Stony/Clear Lake, the volume of above ground septic systems, the removal of trees, the disruption of existing natural habitats, and there hasn't been any consideration for the construction, noise, or pollution that we will all have to endure. There's been no public input, more transparency, and we remain frustrated that the municipality does not consider their responsibility to protect the health of existing properties. We're frustrated by the lack of current updates on the many red line stipulations required to be completed prior to approval being granted, or how we'll be protected from this development. Good planning leads to healthy, inclusive communities, but this proposed plan is not an affordable or sustainable location for the slow, gradual growth previously noted in public releases. Our Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing notes growth should occur where communal services are readily available and will limit our carbon footprint. The hydrology report presented for this development was conducted in 2016 and is now almost 9 years old. I could inundate you with hard data on what you've all seen with the significant change in weather patterns since 2016 and our water tables throughout the province, or how we've all been considerably affected by these weather patterns, with the many areas throughout rural Ontario noting low water tables due to lack of precipitation. Our own fire boards also confirm this. Environment Canada notes 2024 is having the warmest fall on record and the hottest year. Lack of precipitation, more aggressive and dramatic weather patterns have also grossly impacted our local water table. 25 properties are immediately affected by this proposed plan, and the water growth rate here at that location has increased by 17 new wells since the original proposed plan of subdivision was first introduced. One well is noted as being over 300 feet deep, all causing added strain to the existing aquifer. With 3 additional properties now approved, water flow and runoff will become a larger problem with greater opportunity for contamination. Clean water is essential for human health and an essential component to a healthy environment. We need to keep our water safe, clean, and well managed. We believe property owners should not be forced to endure financial costs of protecting their water, such as having their water tested. Test wells done in 2016 impacted neighboring wells, with 2 losing water for a day, an additional 1 suffering hiccups for a couple of days, and a 4th well that went completely dry and was replaced. These noted issues were reported to both the Township of Douro-Dummer and to the County of Peterborough. Underground gas tanks from a long-closed gas center at the corner and runoff from the 2 decommissioned landfills all raise additional concerns of contamination. 11 families in this area, that specific area that I'm referring to where the development is, have been impacted by cancer. We continue to oppose this development and see no benefit to any property owner to have a new town built here. We were told over 30 years ago the subdivision would never be done as the cost was to complete such a bill was astronomical. CBC News reports over 200 development sites in the province have come to a standstill as a result of developers running out of money to complete these builds. A current tragedy we see for residents on Television Road in Peterborough is something we desperately wish to avoid. We do not want to become another news story. Everyone is entitled to a life of equality, dignity, and respect free from discrimination. We have not been treated well. The mental stress and the fear of losing our water is real, and we will be forced to move because we can't survive without water. We have previously provided numerous affidavits from area residents, including a prior councillor, who believed that this proposed plan had lapsed, with their concerns noted as to why it would not be a good idea. We have been told to leave it to the experts. However, the experts do not live here and will not suffer the long, far-reaching after effects if this proposed plan is allowed to. The township has a responsibility to monitor and inspect the development process, although they continue to state that they have no authority. We want to confirm who will assume liability for any problems that do arise. We do not want our tax dollars used for financial gain for a developer that will place us in harm. To date, a significant amount of money has been wasted protecting our properties as a result of this proposed plan. Many township residents are not happy with this council and their prior decision-making choices, with their lack of consideration for this precedent-setting issue. The township has not tried to work with us, and we've been unwilling to hear our concerns. None of you live here, and we're confident that you would not endorse this project if you did. We would like to thank Tom Watt, our councillor at large, for taking the time to hear us and offer support for such a difficult topic. We've done a significant amount of research, and we fully understand the implications of such a large development at this location, and remain frustrated by the township's perception that we're uneducated and unable to understand the details of development or expectations of growth. We need to stop this us versus them mentality that is crippling this township and find a way to work together for sustainability and growth while protecting the quality and sustainability of our water resources critical to our survival. Without this mindset, the only people who will get rich from this proposed plan of subdivision at this location is going to be the lawyers.
Amen.
Council, is there any questions of the presenter?
I'm gonna make a comment
Councilor Johnson, thank you for using your mic.
through the chair. Yeah, this has been going on for a lot of years. In fact, I thought up for a term, it had been gone. I haven't heard from it for years. I agree with one thing that you said right off the bat, is that we should be addressing the public and having their concerns. Things have changed in those years. And I can't say for better or for worse, but I do agree that that you should be updated and that we should be updated. This set there was the proposal, they downsized, and it's been approved by the county. I'm sure that the building probably could go ahead and do some homes, but I do think before it gets going, that we should have a public meeting on this, and I totally agree with you.
It should be noted too, just as you're saying, we're on a very unique ecosystem. That's what makes where we live so amazing. It's rock. We're all on rock. All of us, all these people sitting here, we're all on rock. A lot of the people hauling water at this point, and we're what, January 21st? I can't imagine adding any more homes that isn't going to impact that water supply. It's dangerously low. It has been for quite some time. It's not a new thing for us, but adding any other wells to that is very dangerous to our own water supply. Like, we can't function without it. So that's where our issues lie with that. And the fact that when we reach out to the various governing bodies, whoever they may be, and believe me, they are well aware of who I am, we're getting the same. Well, it's okay, just kind of trust the process. Well, we can't trust the process. This is our means of survival. We can't.
Thank you. Any other questions of the presenter? Just on the public meeting comment, Councillor Johnston and getting council up to date, Ms. Folger, would you be able to just comment? I believe we did receive a report recently in the last year, or maybe based on what you know in terms of where it's at with the county, even an update just briefly, not to put you on the spot. Is that possible?
Thank you, Mayor Watson, through you. A report was brought forward to council. I can't remember the specific date. There was a request to extend the lapsing date for the application. So council was apprised of the status of the application. Also during the committee of the whole, I do update council on the application status. In terms of public meetings, the public meetings for the application have been held. There would have been one at the time of the official plan, or sorry, the subdivision application, and then a second one for the zoning bylaw amendment application. Those were the statutory.
Sorry, no. Actually, that's, no, I realize you weren't here. We can all vouch, that never happened. It never happened, which is why we're so frustrated. And we have continually asked, in fact, we had a conversation with him, and I apologize, Mr. Mudge, I don't know what your proper title is, but he's involved with the plan. I'm sure you're well aware of who he is. And he told us nothing has been granted final approval. He hasn't done any work there. The only thing that has just literally happened is a driveway entrance has been put in. So, we want to be proactive and be smart. Like, haste makes waste. And clearly, we're not going to benefit from anything there. So, now we're hearing rumors, unfortunate, but we're hearing rumors that there's a plaza going in there, which I'm pretty confident there isn't. There's a lot of gossip and a lot of things that have transpired that we're not okay with. I mean, we live here, we have to suffer the consequences of what the decision makers do. So we're trying to say, we live here, and none of you do, and we know that. So you don't know what I see every day in my neighborhood. You don't know how often we run out of water. You don't know any of those things. And without having a conversation where all of these folks here can give you the same information I can give you, there's no reason why we can't do that. So we don't know why it keeps being shoved ahead when right from the very first inception, we all opposed it. So that's where we're really struggling. And no, there has not been a public meeting. There was a 8.5 by 11 dark green sheet of paper stapled to a fence post prior to the special July 2018 meeting that approved the rezoning. But other than that, there's been no public input whatsoever. And that has been a huge problem for us. A huge problem. That's what you were saying.
Through you, Mayor Watson, it's correct. I wasn't here at the time, but I do believe the public meeting was held on July 24th, 2018. There was a closed session of council that day, or sorry, a special meeting, but the public meeting began. The public meeting was opened at 5:06 p.m. There were 2 written comments of objection received during the public meeting. and then the public meeting was closed at 6:36 p.m. The bylaw was passed in the open council session under section 7 of that agenda. The bylaw was appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, the OMB at the time. There was a hearing held for the rezoning, and then the OMB made the decision on the rezoning application.
Yeah, and LPAT, actually, the LPAT hearing was held during COVID. That should be a very important thing to note, because during COVID, when you were all on lockdown and we were all on lockdown, yeah, we couldn't participate. So, yeah, there's been an awful lot of things that we haven't agreed with and we weren't considered at all. And I mean, it affects everything about our lives. So, you know, not sharing the information is gigantic. And as you can see by the people that are sitting here, they're very worried about what this means for our future. I mean, we're being forced out of our houses if we can't have water. Like, we should be considered, we were here first. I mean, I've been at my location 35 years, and many of my neighbors have been there pretty much as long as I have, and I, you know, I think we need to do better, really. We need to do better, and we're struggling to see how we're gonna benefit from 52 homes built on a field of rock. And as a lot of people pointed out to me, they said, Elaine, how do you know so much about the property? My husband's family owned the property before Galloway's. So we have a long history here as well. And so we do know.
Thank you for that additional information. No, you might say thank you. I can't. Just of note with respect to the LPAT hearing, although it did happen during COVID, I respect that. That's a tribunal body that's outside of this council. It exists because of, to be outside as an arm's length body outside of council. So, you know, that hearing and the results of those hearings and your satisfaction or dissatisfaction with that hearing isn't something that this council can take any responsibility for, unfortunately, because
We realize
legislation. I recognize that you realize that, but folks maybe watching from home who haven't been as involved in the process as obviously you have, may not have that understanding and awareness. Are there any other questions or comments from council at this point in time before we receive the presentation and the delegation? Councilor Watt.
Thank you, Chair, Madam Mayor. Thanks very much, Elaine, for the presentation. As was mentioned before, I did walk myself for 3 or 4 hours. I believe your house one night. We were quite a
4 hours and 15 minutes. And we really respect that.
And I appreciate that too. And there's a lot of good comments there. There's a lot of passion for the people who live around there, and I understand that totally. And maybe there hasn't been, and I'm only guessing here because I can't say yes there has, no there hasn't, because I haven't been directly involved in it. But maybe there hasn't been the information flow back and forth that there really should be on a project this size. So maybe that's something that we have to look into between us and the county and get some answers for these people and don't take it that one step further, like Councillor Johnson said, maybe another public meeting. I don't know whether that would be beneficial or not, but something to get these people some more information on their concerns.
Can I just add one final thing? So the LPAT, if you Google LPAT, you'll see that the average folks like us, we never win. They always are pro-development, and I realize we're all governed by, you know, what happens in the province and what they say, build anytime, anywhere. Well, not every location is ideal. This is not ideal. It's a new town without any communal services. We've got above ground septics, we've got 52 wells. That's gotta have some impact on the people around, even if we were dropped in the middle of a cornfield somewhere. We're not. We're on rock, which has already been stripped of topsoil on 2 occasions. And so even the elevations, like we're 6.5 feet at the field level to the center of the road. Everything goes this way. So the water will flow in between myself and 3 other properties into my creek, which feeds my well. So the construction runoff and all of the pollution that goes with that, which is a natural thing. It happens when you develop. That will all be in my well. So yes, I have a huge problem with that. And when we were, you know, talking to the neighbors and stuff, we realized 11 families already have been impacted by cancer. And that is something worth looking at as well, like the hydrology reports are long empty. And we all know there has not been precipitation in the last few years, and we're really suffering because of it. I can't make it rain. If I could, I promise I would, but I can't. So we need these people that are decision makers to step up and to support the people that already pay the taxes. We're already there. We should be the ones protected first.
Yep.
We have Councillor Vervoort, have you had that, sir?
Thank you, Mayor Watson. Through you, just a couple of small questions. I think Christina might be able to answer them for us. When was the OMB hearing held? I understand it was some time ago, and at the time of the initial application and kind of all of the due diligence that went into the project during the application period, were there any hydrological studies done or kind of work that addresses some of the concerns brought up here today?
Thank you, Mayor Watson, through you. I think the first part of the question was, when was the OMB hearing held? I believe the hearing was held, I have the date. The decision was issued on March 25th, 2021. And then the second part to the question was whether there were any hydro-G studies done in support of the application. There were a number. This is a 1990 file that originally was with the province of Ontario as the approval authority. So there were studies submitted through that, and then it was transferred, approval was transferred to the County of Peterborough. The studies were updated and those studies were peer reviewed to determine, to ensure that they were in compliance with the ministry guidelines.
But we still had water issues on 4 hills. One went completely dry, 2 suffered no water for a day, and the third one suffered what they called hiccups. I'm not sure, I guess they went in water for 2 days. And they were reported to the township and they were reported to the county at the time that the hydrology was done. So that was 2016.
Thank you. For that, Councillor Vervoort, did you have other questions? Sorry, I just want to make sure that you had the opportunity.
No, that was super. Thank you very much, Christina, for the feedback there. When were those updated studies issued? Have they kind of been? I know the first ones were 30 years ago. Are we talking stuff a little bit more recent than that now?
Through you, Mayor Watson, I would have to dig into the file to get the specific dates for those.
Thank you. Council, what would you like to do with the delegation? Councillor Johnson?
To the chair, I would like to see that we have an open meeting to bring forward the information that started back 30+ years ago and to date, and to see where we're at and see about the concerns again, if they've been changed or other concerns been brought to the table where we can discuss this again. Even though I do know that it's already in motion to move on, but I do think the public needs to know where we're at and to know that we want things to work out right for everybody. So therefore, before they get digging, I think we could have a public meeting and bring up to date where we're at and where people can at least have their say and let them know where we are in the public.
Councillor Johnson, just to be clear, so you're making a motion that we hold a public meeting to specifically to discuss this.
Yes, and I do think that as I said, the county should have the reports. We have reports from the county. They kind of spearheaded a lot of this stuff. So we want to have the reports, whether it be someone from the county or Lisa reports.
Correct. So at this point, the county is the approving body on this. I've hit my mic, but I need one of you to turn off your mics before I can. Well, you can only have 2 mics on at a time, the way the system works, sorry. So at this point, the county is the approving body. So we would perhaps invite a member from county planning to that meeting if
Right,
that's
yes.
what you're getting at. And that we look to hold a a public meeting within the existing council meeting or a special meeting? Like, where are you thinking?
No, just within the council meeting.
All right, so that's the motion that's on the floor. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councilor Wong will second that motion. Any discussion on the motion? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thanks for your, thanks for your presentation, Wayne. And I understand the passion with all the people that's here involved. I cannot support this motion. This is not even a township body that should be having, it's a county body that approves this. This has been going on all my life. And I know the people, in fact, the father of one of the people in the room was the person that ran this through or brought this subdivision into place. And this has been going on for a long time. I know the person that is actually the contractor that's wanting to develop these houses, and he has spent a ton of money. Just a minute, let me finish. Let me finish. He has spent a ton of money on trying to, we want growth within this township. And anybody that says that we don't, well, guess what? Your taxes are going to go up.
We're not doing a carbon footprint.
Folks.
And let me finish.
You shouldn't have a chance to.
I'm afraid I do have a chance to say what I
That's not the
want
way that this works, guys, please.
to say. I cannot support this. They went through all the approvals. It went to the OMB. The OMB has made the final decision. And as far as us keep on, you know what, our contractor, the contractor that wants to build these houses wants to get on with life. And how long do we keep on doing that for? Just, how long do we keep on stopping business within this municipality? And just because, you know what, wells, I wish wells all the time. You know how, I probably wished 100 wells within this township in the last year that went dry. And it had nothing to do with the subdivision. If your wells are going dry now, don't blame it on the contractor because it's going dry.
Well, don't put any more in there.
And I'm very passionate about that. And I'm very passionate for sticking up for the little guy, the underdog, that wants to build and have growth in this township. We need growth in this township, and whether you like it or not, unfortunately, that's the way it is. And when there's study after study after study after study, it just boggles my mind at how much money is spent on studying and studying and studying. And then when all them studies are done, you still do not accept it. And that's wrong, totally wrong. When the experts have done the studies, we need to accept that. And the government.
Let's just stop. We need some order in the chambers. No, we need some order in the chambers, please. This is the way that it works is one person speaks at a time. The people who have the ability to speak right now are the members of council and our delegate presenter. The gallery is here to watch the public process. That's the process that's set before us, and that's what we're going to do today. So, Deputy Mayor, are you finished your comments?
I'm pretty near finished my comments, yes. So having said what I've said, I understand. Nobody wants to go without water. Nobody wants, but you know something, it falls down to you too. If you're having trouble with your well right now, don't blame it on something that hasn't even happened yet. That's ludicrous, if you ask me. It's totally ludicrous to blame something on water that hasn't even happened yet. Or cancer. Sorry, cancer happens. And it's unfortunate that happens, but don't blame a contractor for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Show us the water test.
Councilor Revort, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. Nothing really that much further to add to Deputy Mayor Nelson's comments, and this is getting to be a heated discussion, and I think that folks have already got their mind made up in terms of how they're going to vote. Two people made the motion. I can clearly see that Deputy Mayor Nelson is not in favor of it, so I would just request that you call the vote at this point.
All right, so we've got, once the vote's been asked to be called, Councilor Johnson, procedurally, we need to call the vote. So we have
I'll request a recording vote, please.
all right. We'll hand it over. Yeah, we'll hand it over to the clerk to go forward with that.
Carol, since it was my father, but
Please.
there should be an opportunity to talk to those things, village. Because it doesn't. No, we go over.
Madam Mayor, I will now call for the vote. Dummer Ward Councillor, how do you vote?
Opposed.
Douro Ward Councillor, how do you vote?
In favor?
Councillor at Large, how do you vote?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor, how do you vote?
Opposed?
Madam Mayor, how do you vote? Opposed. The vote
Sure.
fails.
Yes, of course. Okay, now, thank you, Madam Clerk. We, just to note, we haven't formally received the presentation, but before we have a motion for that, we did receive a package as well that was distributed, so we'd like the motion to include that. As well, there was a document added to the agenda that came in, it was got caught in spam or something, and that was added to the agenda, and it was distributed to council in advance of the meeting, so.
If I could interrupt you, it's the same document you have to read.
Okay, thank you. So if we could get a motion then, please, to receive the delegation and the reports therein. Councillor Johnson, thank you. Councillor Report, you're seconding that?
Yes, please.
All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Hooker. Okay, moving on, into the public comment period. Folks, you're welcome to stay, and we're going to proceed on with the meeting. We do have we'll give a couple minutes for folks to get settled. This is for, yeah.
If you ever want to talk about my dad, let me know.
Okay, so we got.
This is not how democracy should work. Shame on you, Carol.
Okay.
Shame on you.
Thank you, thank you.
Don't call me dear.
I say
Moving
thank you,
on
Gary.
to the public comment period. We did have a registered speaker, Kevin Duguay, I believe. Is he joining us on Zoom? There we go, Mr. Duguay, welcome. And 3 minutes. Thank you for reminding me, Madam Clerk. Mr. Duguay, the floor is yours. I believe you're speaking on item 10.4, the law report.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. I should comment, I thought my council meetings were entertaining. However, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that council just dealt with a very complicated and longstanding issue, and I can relate to your deliberations. I want to start off by introducing myself to Mr. Davis. Todd, we haven't met formally, but let's consider ourselves met. I also want to start off as well, supplementary, to thank Martina. Once again, this is a file that she, as many files I've had with your township, where she and I work, email, phone calls, and she's been very helpful in guiding this process forward. Ironically, we heard earlier today, or followed the deliberations with respect to 2776 line South Douro, and reference was made by Mr. Murray Loeb to his family's landholdings in relationship to the Verroot property. And one of the properties referenced was that of David Loeb. And in this case, David Loeb, my client, it's a very simple request to work with the municipality to establish or open, if you would, a section of the unopened seventh line. Now, there is a driveway facility there now, and it leads to the property, but the request is very simple in its intent, is to establish so that it can be utilized or open as a public road. Now, I've read your report, I've read all your bylaws. I believe the requests from the Conservation Authority are, perhaps I would describe them as a bit excessive. But nonetheless, we'll bring on our environmental consultant, and if we need a civil engineer to address their requirements for environmental assessment. There was also a request for a floodplain evaluation. There's also a request, I think, coming as well from the municipality, grading plan profile drawings. The latter make a lot of sense, making sure that if it is a road or whatever, that it meets certain standards. But I suspect that the environmental assessment would be likely scoped. It wouldn't be a comprehensive assessment. There are wetlands, but the driveway is not going through the wetlands. And a floodplain analysis might be quite limited in its application. But having said that, I would say to this council that I've worked with other property owners throughout Central East Ontario, and we've arrived at different solutions tackling the very same subject. Unopened road allowances on properties, persons wanted access. We've had leasing agreements, licensing agreements with indemnification clauses. We've opened up the road. So this is not an unusual request. But in conclusion, I've read the reports and the recommendations. I have no issues with the same. And again, to reiterate, Mayor Watson, I publicly wish to thank Martina once again for her help. Because she provided information to me in a timely manner upfront and throughout the process, and it has helped. It's really informed how the municipality would address matters. There's no development contemplated by this, as I'm not aware of development at this point, but it's simply just to recognize what has been essentially maintained in an informal basis by the Loeb family for some time, and perhaps formalize that so that it ends up becoming a municipal asset or equivalent, as opposed to just a section of unopened road allowance serving a property. That's our application. I make myself available for any questions should they arise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duguay. Any questions from the presenter for me? Oh, we can't, sorry.
It's just a comment, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So with that, then we will move to receive it even. We don't even move to. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm feeling just getting back from vacation. Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Duguay. Councillor Verwoerd.
Yes, Mayor Watson, through you, I would like to receive the report and even just throw in a comment there too that I am quite familiar with the property myself, having walked it many times, and I am in full agreement with Mr. Duguay's comments regarding some of Orca's requests maybe being a little bit overreaching and perhaps need to be brought into a little bit more scope in terms of.
Okay, Councillor Verwoerd, you're getting a little ahead of us because we haven't even received the report. So we need to receive the report.
Sorry.
That's item 10.4
Yes.
on the agenda.
Okay.
We're all a little new today, apparently. So
I'll make a motion to receive the report.
There's nothing to receive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing to receive yet. Let's just sit tight. We're going to move on to staff reports, item 10.1, which is the report of capital project status. And I will ask council if they have any questions or comments on that report. Seeing nothing, we just need a motion to receive that. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Verwoerd. All in favor? That motion carries. On to item 10.2, County Payroll Official Plan Update, and that is off to our planner to present. Ms. Coulter, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. Council has before them report planning 2025-01 with the following recommendation. That planning 2025-01 report dated January 21st, 2025 regarding the County of Peterborough official plan update be received. The purpose of this report is to provide council with an update to the new official plan, which was adopted by County Council on June 21st, 2022, and submitted to the province for approval on July 11th, 2022. Sorry. As you know, the province introduced a new provincial planning statement in October of 2024, which replaced the provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Due to these legislative changes, the province has requested that the new adopted official plan be revised to ensure it aligns with the new provincial planning statement. As requested by the province, the official plan has been revised with input from the Technical Advisory Committee, which includes township staff. And a copy of the plan illustrating the proposed modifications is available as a red line document. The county has initiated a consultation process with the public and First Nations to seek feedback on the proposed modifications, and information on the consultation process is now available on the township and county websites and is being provided through our social media accounts. There's a virtual open house and a public meeting that will be held to allow the public an opportunity to provide input on the proposed changes, and these dates will be forthcoming. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor Watson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Coulter. Council, any questions on the report that's before you? So it looks like the recommendation is just a motion to receive council report. You're making that motion?
Make motion to receive. Thank you.
Councilor
I'll
Johnson?
second it.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 10.3, community grant requests. And that's over to our treasurer, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you is report Treasurer 2025-1. It's regarding an application towards our community grant program. The applicant is Young's Point, 200 years on the water. The amount requested was $750. As per the policy, any request $750 or under, staff can evaluate against the policy and determine whether or not to approve. But staff did conclude that this meets the policy and did award the $750. So this is an information report for council. The grant will cover event costs for the Young's Point Bicentennial and Reunion event scheduled for August 8th, 2025.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kramer. Council, what would you like to do with it? Councilor Johnston?
Through the chair. Yeah, I want to totally agree with them, what they've done, and thank them for to allow them this kind of money for this 200-year anniversary. So I'll say thanks. And motion received.
Okay. Do you want to second that motion?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Nelson, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Now we get to move on to 10.4, council report. This is your report. But first, we will ask Ms. Coulter. It's a clerk's report. Over to Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as Mr. Duguay outlined in his public comments, this is a report regarding the request to make improvements to the 7th line South Dummer. The recommendation is that the request to make those improvements on the 7th line South Dummer road allowance be received, and that council approve the request from Mr. Log to improve and use the road allowance, provided that the following conditions are met. And that is that permits are obtained from the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority, and that all the requirements outlined in Township Policy 18 are complied with, and finally, that the constructed roadway agreement be entered into with the township and registered on title. So just a little background information for you. At the November 19th council meeting, I presented a report which outlined the request from Mr. Duguay on behalf of his clients regarding the 7th line South Dummer road allowance. All of the supporting material from that meeting were attached to this report. And in response to that, council did pass the following resolution, which was to receive the report and that staff be instructed to proceed with the public circulation of the request and bring back comment for council's review as per the policy. In response to that, council released a notice document to the public and stakeholders per the policy, and we also posted it on the township website. We also generated a news alert through our website, so that anyone who subscribes to the news would get the alert, as we knew that there was a mail strike on and we wanted to reach as many people as possible. We also hand-delivered letters. So in response to that public consultation, Township Region Conservation Authority did respond with comments and concerns. I've summarized them below, and Mr. Duguay has already kind of alluded to them. But that the proposed road improvements are going to intersect with hazardous environmental features such as wetlands with associated unstable soils and flooding. An environmental assessment and floodplain analysis will be required along with the grading plan and profile drawings of the proposed road surface. Permits from the Township Region Conservation Authority will also be required prior to any development. No other comments or questions were received from anyone else. So township staff have been visited the road allowance, and they are in favor of allowing this section of road allowance to be used by Mr. Law and to be improved, and that the township would enter into a constructive roadway agreement with Mr. Law. Through this process, Mr. Law would be responsible for producing a survey of the section of road allowance in question, along with completing the required steps of working to obtain the permit, and then ensure that the design will meet the requirements of the township, which are outlined in policy 118 and are approved through the manager of public works. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, any questions, Councilor Watt?
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. I had a question asked to me and I kind of hesitated to answer because I'm maybe 90% sure that I was correct, whatever. So Mr. Bob was wanting to upgrade the road and make it usable and stuff like that, but we're not stopping up and closing it. So it is still access available to the public. Not that there's anybody that wants to go down there, because I know it goes into a swamp, because we cut it out years ago when I worked in the township, but I just wanted to get that point, for the public, that it's not being stopped up and closed. Anybody is still able to use it. It's just that Mr. Law wants to bring it up to a certain standard for his needs for whatever they may be. That is correct, or I want to be absolutely sure. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Watt, that respect, the request is not to stop up and close the road allowance. The road allowance will continue to be the township's property. There will be an agreement with Mr. Law so that he can construct the road up to a standard he needs to be able to access his property, which is further down the road allowance. We know that the Snowmobile Club and some other users do use that road allowance. They would be able to continue their use with the agreements with the township that we currently have.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Nelson?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just to be clear, it's still not going to be an open road allowance.
That is correct. So through you, Madam Mayor, we are not proposing to open the road allowance and bring it into the township system, but we are allowing it to be upgraded so that it can be used as access to the property.
Right. Thanks for that clarification.
Any further questions? What would you like to do with it, folks? Councilor Watt?
Motion to receive and support the motion. Go ahead.
Sorry, Councilor.
I guess he did kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Let's give it back.
I'll jump in again. I'll jump in again. Thank you, Mayor Watson. Through you, yes, I'll second the motion.
Well, you can first the motion if you really.
Oh no, I'll let Councilor Watt have it. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Kevin.
you, Mr. Duguay. On to item number 11, committee minutes. We just have one set of minutes for committee adjustment on November 29th. Motion to receive that. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councilor Johnston, all in favor, and that motion carries. We have a number of items on correspondence, starting with the letter from the City of Toronto, item 12.1, declaring Toronto a paid plasma-free zone. What would you like to do, Council? Council Watt?
I would like to receive and support, please. I would like to see that Ontario, like, to be quite honest with you, but this is what this is asking for Toronto, and I fully support.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Second that, sorry. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12.2, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We have a letter on municipal codes of conduct. Council, what would you like to do with this? Deputy Mayor?
Just, through you, Madam Mayor, just received.
All right. You want to second that? Councilor Reward?
I'll second that.
All in favor? That motion carries. County Growth Umberland, item 12.3, regarding protection of agricultural lands and sustainable development. What would you like to do? Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Receive that report.
Okay, anyone want to second that? Councilor Watt? Discussion? All in favor? And that carries. Okay, moving down to our bylaws, we have 13.1 to assume certain parcels in the township road system.
So moved to receive it.
Councilor Johnston, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion carries. Item 13.2, the bylaw to authorize borrowing from time to time to meet the fiscal year requirements. Councilor Watt will make that motion, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. We have the 13.3 bylaw to provide an interim tax levy and the payment of interim taxes for 2025. Councilor Johnston?
So moved.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. And of course, we've already taken care of
We're gonna put it off till next year.
13.4. Moving along, there are no reports derived from previous notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion this evening, folks? Seeing nothing, are there any announcements? No announcements? Yeah, what else? Yeah, sorry, yeah, apologies. Sorry, thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing no announcements, oh, I see. Oh, I see. Under announcements, I will state, thank you, Madam Clerk, for keeping me on my toes. We do have a number of meetings coming up, and since we are going to close, I'll just make sure that we get these in here now. We do have a budget working session, that's this Thursday. It's in the town hall. It's a working, a workshop type meeting with all the managers and council. Of course, the public is open or is invited to attend. But it won't be live streamed for that session because it is in the town hall. We have a committee of the adjustment meeting, happening on the 24th, and our regular council meeting happening on February 4th. Now with that, looking for a motion to go into closed session for items under section 239 municipal. Councilor Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor, and that motion carries. Folks, this is the time that I'm going to leave us.
Good work.
Yeah.